Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be doing another Retire On series video, this time on NVDY. NVDY is a fund by yieldmax. They pay 13 times a year rotationally every 4 weeks, which makes 13 payments over 52 weeks. Now, these are depreciating assets, and these videos are for fun and entertainment purposes only. I do have NVDY in my portfolio, but please be clear, you should never have all your funds or all your money in one thing. You should never be retired off just one thing. These videos are just to see how much money in it we'd need. Now, if we look at income, generally the numbers show that most salaries on average are around $60,000. The average income, I believe the Social Security Administration puts out, is $66,000. So we're going to look at it from that standpoint. You can move these numbers up and down based upon your personal needs. So with a baseline of $60,000, it gives us a nice round number to $5K a month. But this fund pays 13 times a year. Every 4 weeks it pays, and then 52 weeks makes 13 payments. So we need to take that into account. I'm not going to go over taxes because I'm not your tax attorney. I'm not your accountant. I'm not your tax preparer. I'm going to do these on raw numbers. You guys can figure out your own tax situation. Now, we need to look at the current share price for NVDY, which is $13.63 currently. All right. Now, as this video ages, that price is going to move wildly. So you need to realize that. Now, we need to look at the lowest dividend so far. But there's a caveat there, because yieldmax used to pay a regular monthly strategy. Then they went to the rotational. So I'm only going to take the information from the rotational now, where it's every 13 payments a year instead of the 12. All right. And in that time, the lowest payment, which is what I use to do these videos, was 75 cents. Okay. Now, previously there had been lower payments. I'm not going to try and go into that because it wouldn't make the numbers right. Now, with 75 cents being paid 13 times a year, we can take that information and based on the share price and figure out how much we would have to invest cash money to get our 60K a year. Now, we're going to start off with the very basic. We need 60K, so $60,000 divided by 13. That's going to give you how much you're going to need to make at each one of those 13 payments. Now that is $4,615. All right, that's what we need to make every payment. Now you take that $4,615 and you divide that by the distribution. We're using the lowest distribution because these are depreciating assets. But that will give you 6,154. That is shares you need. All right. That number consists of you need to buy that many shares. Now we take that 6,154 shares, and to find the price of that, we multiply that by $13.63, which is the current share price of NVDY at the time of making this video. That will give us $83,879. That's how much you have to invest in NVDY currently, based on the lowest distribution since they started their 13-week cycle thing, 13 payment a year cycle thing, to get 60K. Now, this is the part of the video where I tell you how I would reinvest if I had this portfolio. Now, I feel like you could be more aggressive with this number, but at the same time, I think you could. This is a good starting point, which would be a 10% reinvestment. Personally, I think that having that 10% there to help prop up the distributions and prop up the share price a little bit is a good idea. Now, obviously, if the distributions continually start to fall more and more and more, you're going to want to reinvest more and more and more. All right. But at a 10% reinvestment rate, out of those 13 payments, at each payment, you would want to reinvest $461.15. Now, since that $461.50 comes out of each 13 payment, you would end up over the 13 payments reinvesting $4,153.50. It's not bad. It comes out of there though. You can see $4,000 isn't big money. But that still leaves you with rounded $54,000 a year to spend. All right. I think that even after paying your taxes, with how, there's ways that you can do things, whether it be if you're a married couple, obviously it's higher, where some of this might be return on capital. I don't think tax is going to eat that away too terribly bad. I guess it depends on your personal situation, how high your bills are, etc. But that said, I do own this fund, and I do reinvest if it starts to get squirrely and go down the hill too much. I've seen it recover a couple of different times, and I do feel that there is still plenty of interest in it as far as part of a strong portfolio. Now, with that said, none of this is financial advice. But to me, if I could put $83,000 or $84,000 in an investment and it pays me out $54,000 because I'm reinvesting a little bit, I think that's a pretty fair trade-off. I don't believe that you should be all in on any one fund or even all in on covered call funds. I think you should have a diversified portfolio. But I think it's fun to look at these numbers and just rationalize how much to get how much. Because if you'd have gone back before 2020, let's say, and said, I want an 80% yield, or I want a 50% yield, or I want a 30% yield, people would call you crazy. They would tell you it's non-sustainable. But here we are years later, and it's now one of the bigger parts of the market growing is covered call and income. There's a reason why, because much like me, you guys desire income. And if you want to see more about income, make sure you go down, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell so you see all of our upcoming videos. I got plenty more of these planned, but I'm always willing to listen. If you've got a stock or an ETF you want me to do on the Retire On series, please drop it in the comments down below and I'll try to get to it at my earliest convenience. I don't know if we'll be able to get them all, but we'll try real hard. And with that said, I'll see you guys in the next one.